become so magnetic that miracles find you. There comes a moment in your life when you stop asking, "When will my miracle come?" and begin becoming the person who expects miracles as a normal part of life. That moment changes everything. Because the greatest transformation does not begin when the world around you changes. It begins when something within you becomes certain. You stop waking up wondering what could go wrong, and you begin waking up knowing that something beautiful could happen today. You stop looking at your circumstances as final, and you start seeing them as temporary scenes in a story that is still unfolding. You stop begging life to give you a reason to believe, and you begin giving yourself permission to believe before the evidence appears. Imagine becoming so secure within yourself that you no longer chase opportunities, people, validation, or outcomes. Imagine carrying an inner conviction so powerful that you walk into every room with the quiet feeling that something is already working in your favor. You are not desperate. You are not forcing. You are not trying to convince anyone of your worth. You simply know who you are. And when you know who you are, your choices change. Your expectations change. Your reactions change. Your standards change. Even the way you interpret ordinary events begins to change. This is what it means to become magnetic. It is not about controlling another person. It is not about manipulating circumstances. It is about transforming the inner identity from which you experience life. When you consistently see yourself as worthy, supported, capable, loved, abundant, and deserving of wonderful possibilities, you begin moving differently. You notice doors you once ignored. You recognize opportunities you previously dismissed. You become willing to receive instead of constantly struggling to obtain. You begin saying yes to possibilities that match the person you are becoming. And perhaps the miracle you have been waiting for is not as far away as you imagined. Perhaps the opportunity is already forming. Perhaps the answer is already moving toward you through a conversation, an idea, an unexpected connection, a change of direction, or a door you never considered opening. But you cannot always recognize a miracle while you are staring at what is missing. You must become available to what is possible. So today, release the identity that says, "Nothing ever works out for me." Release the assumption that you must struggle for everything you desire. Release the habit of constantly checking for evidence. Your life does not need your panic. Your future does not need your fear. What you need is a new inner decision. I am someone good things happen to. I am someone opportunities find. I am someone who receives unexpected blessings. I am someone whose life can change in beautiful ways. Let that assumption become stronger than your circumstances. You do not have to know exactly how the miracle will arrive. You do not have to predict the path. You do not have to force every door open. Your responsibility is to become the version of yourself who is ready to walk through the right door when it appears. Today, you are going to shift your inner world. You are going to strengthen your self-concept, elevate your expectations, and learn to carry yourself with the quiet certainty of someone whose life is opening. Because when you stop identifying with limitation and begin identifying with possibility, you become more receptive to the extraordinary. So take a breath, let go of the need to know when, let go of the obsession with how, and begin becoming the person who simply knows something wonderful can find me. Something unexpected can change everything. Miracles are not impossible for me. My life is capable of surprising me. And from this moment forward, instead of chasing the miracle, become so magnetic that you are ready to recognize it when it finds you. There is a powerful transformation that happens when you stop living as though good things are rare and begin living as though beautiful possibilities are natural for you. The first step toward becoming so magnetic that miracles find you is to become the person who expects them. Expectation is not wishful thinking. It is the inner posture you carry when you believe that your life is capable of surprising you in wonderful ways. Most people unknowingly train themselves to expect disappointment. They wake up anticipating problems, rejection, delays, bad news, and everything that could possibly go wrong. Then, when something good appears, they question it. They wonder how long it will last. They search for the hidden problem. They hesitate to receive it fully. But when you consciously change your expectation, you begin changing the way you experience your world. You begin looking for possibilities instead of limitations. You begin noticing opportunities that were always around you, but were previously hidden behind fear and doubt. Your attention becomes selective. Your mind starts asking a different question. What if something wonderful happens today? That single question can completely change the energy with which you move through life. Imagine waking up each morning with the quiet assumption that something can go right for you. Maybe it is a message you were not expecting. Maybe it is an opportunity that appears at exactly the right moment. Maybe it is a solution to a problem that seemed impossible yesterday. Maybe it is simply a new idea that changes the direction of your life. You do not need to know which miracle is coming. You only need to become receptive to possibility. This does not mean ignoring reality or pretending that difficult circumstances do not exist. It means refusing to make temporary circumstances your permanent identity. A difficult season can be real without becoming your definition. A delay can happen without meaning you are destined to remain delayed. A disappointment can occur without becoming proof that nothing good is coming. You can acknowledge what is happening while still holding a deeper expectation that life can change. Your expectation becomes a quiet declaration. This is not the end of my story. When you repeatedly affirm this identity, your behavior begins to follow it. You become more courageous. You communicate more confidently. You pursue opportunities you once considered impossible. You stop automatically rejecting yourself before anyone else has a chance to say yes. You become willing to receive. And that willingness matters because sometimes the miracle is not that something suddenly appears. Sometimes the miracle is that you finally recognize what has been placed in front of you. A person with an abundance-oriented expectation sees an invitation where another person sees a risk. They see a beginning where another sees uncertainty. They see a lesson where another sees failure. They see a door where another sees a wall. Your expectation influences what you are prepared to notice and what you are willing to pursue. So begin practicing the identity of someone whose life can surprise them. Before you sleep, imagine tomorrow carrying possibilities you cannot yet see. When you wake up, tell yourself, today can bring something beautiful. When uncertainty appears, do not immediately predict the worst. Pause and leave room for another outcome. Let yourself believe that solutions can appear, connections can happen, opportunities can emerge, and circumstances can shift. You are not demanding that everything happen according to your schedule. You are developing an inner confidence that your story is still unfolding. The more naturally you expect good possibilities, the less desperately you chase them. You become calmer, more observant, and more receptive. And that is where your magnetic presence begins, not in forcing life to give you something, but in becoming someone who is genuinely prepared to receive it. Expect the unexpected. Expect growth. Expect open doors. Expect beautiful turns in the story. Most importantly, expect yourself to be capable of meeting them when they arrive. Your miracle may not come in the form you imagined, but when your inner world becomes open to possibility, you give yourself the greatest opportunity of all, the opportunity to recognize that life has more available to you than you once believed. The first step to becoming so magnetic that miracles find you is to change what you naturally expect from life. Most people wait for something wonderful to happen before they allow themselves to feel hopeful, confident, peaceful, or blessed. They look at their circumstances and say, when things change, then I will believe. But the deeper transformation begins when you reverse that pattern and decide to believe in possibility before the evidence arrives. Your expectation becomes the lens through which you experience your world. If you constantly expect disappointment, rejection, delay, or struggle, your attention becomes trained to search for confirmation of those assumptions. You notice what is missing. You focus on what has not happened. You interpret silence as rejection and delay as failure. But when you begin expecting favorable possibilities, your awareness changes. You become more attentive to opportunities, conversations, ideas, connections, and unexpected openings that you may have overlooked before. This is not about pretending that every circumstance is perfect. It is about refusing to let one temporary circumstance become the definition of your entire future. You can acknowledge where you are without deciding that this is where you must remain. You can experience uncertainty while still believing that something beautiful may be developing beyond what you can currently see. Begin carrying yourself with the quiet assumption that life is capable of surprising you. Wake up each morning and think, something wonderful could happen today. You do not need to know exactly what it will be. You do not need to predict the person, opportunity, message, solution, or breakthrough. You simply create an inner atmosphere where good possibilities are welcome. That expectation changes the way you walk, speak, decide, and respond. You become less desperate because you no longer believe that everything depends on one particular outcome happening immediately. You become more patient because you trust that your story is still unfolding. You become more courageous because you stop treating every unknown as a threat. You become more receptive because you are no longer constantly defending yourself against disappointment. This is where your personal magnetism begins. Magnetism is not about chasing or controlling. It is about becoming internally aligned with the reality you desire to experience. When you see yourself as someone worthy of good things, you naturally begin making choices that honor that identity. You stop begging for attention where there is none. You stop convincing people to recognize your value. You stop treating crumbs as if they are a feast. You begin expecting mutuality, respect, love, growth, abundance, and meaningful opportunities. Your standards rise because your self-image has risen. Even your response to setbacks changes. Instead of saying, everything is going wrong, you begin saying, this may be redirecting me towards something better. Instead of asking, why does this always happen to me? You begin asking, what possibility can I see here? That shift may appear small, but it changes the direction of your attention. And wherever your attention consistently goes, your actions tend to follow. You start noticing doors instead of walls. You recognize possibilities instead of immediately dismissing them. You become willing to take the step you previously feared. Perhaps the miracle you have been waiting for does not begin with an external event at all. Perhaps it begins with the moment you finally become convinced that your life can change. Once that conviction becomes stronger than your old assumptions, you begin living differently. You stop waiting for permission to feel blessed. You stop requiring perfect circumstances before you allow yourself to hope. You decide that good things are allowed to happen to you. You decide that unexpected opportunities can find you. You decide that solutions can appear from places you never considered. And most importantly, you decide that your past does not have the authority to predict your future. So from this moment forward, practice expectation. Expect helpful connections. Expect new ideas. Expect opportunities. Expect progress. Expect pleasant surprises. Expect yourself to be guided toward better choices. Do not obsess over when the miracle will arrive or attempt to control exactly how it must appear. Simply become the person who is ready to recognize it. Walk through your day with an open heart and an expectant mind. Let your inner declaration be simple. Something wonderful can happen for me. Repeat it until it no longer feels like a desperate wish and begins to feel like a natural possibility. Because when you stop expecting life to disappoint you, you become available to notice what has always been possible. And when your inner world becomes a place where miracles are expected, your outer life becomes a place where you are far more prepared to recognize, receive, and act upon the opportunities that come your way. Your self-concept is the identity you carry about who you are, what you deserve, what is possible for you, and how you believe life responds to you. If you want to become so magnetic that miracles find you, you must begin by transforming the story you repeatedly tell yourself about yourself. You cannot consistently live beyond the identity you have accepted within. If deep down you believe you are overlooked, unworthy, unlucky, forgotten, or destined to struggle, you may unconsciously interpret life through that assumption. Even when an opportunity appears, you might hesitate. Even when someone appreciates you, you might question their sincerity. Even when something beautiful begins unfolding, you may expect it to disappear. But when you change your inner identity, your relationship with life begins to change. You start seeing yourself as someone who deserves to experience love, respect, abundance, peace, meaningful opportunities, and unexpected blessings. This does not mean believing you are better than anyone else. It means finally recognizing that you do not have to earn your right to exist, grow, receive, and experience good things. You are allowed to expect more from life because you are willing to become more intentional about the person you are being. Think about how differently you behave when you feel confident compared with when you feel insecure. Confidence changes your posture, your voice, your decisions, and even the opportunities you are willing to pursue. Self-concept works in a similar way. When you see yourself as valuable, you stop chasing validation. When you see yourself as capable, you become willing to attempt what once intimidated you. When you see yourself as deserving of healthy love, you stop normalizing relationships that continually diminish you. When you see yourself as someone who can succeed, setbacks become information rather than permanent judgments about your worth. This is why your inner identity matters so much. The world may not immediately change the moment you change your thoughts, but your choices begin changing, and those choices influence the direction of your life. You become more selective about where you place your energy. You become more willing to say no to what contradicts your values and yes to what supports your growth. You begin carrying yourself with a quiet certainty that does not require constant applause. You no longer need everyone to confirm that you are worthy because you have stopped negotiating with your own value. This is a powerful form of magnetism. You become attractive not because you are trying desperately to impress the world, but because you are comfortable standing in your own identity. You are no longer broadcasting desperation through your decisions. You are communicating self-respect. And when you respect yourself, you begin creating boundaries that protect your peace, choosing environments that support your growth, and pursuing goals that genuinely matter to you. Begin changing the internal statements that have kept you small. Instead of saying, "Nothing ever works out for me," say, "I am learning to recognize opportunities." Instead of, "Nobody chooses me," say, "I choose myself, and I welcome relationships built on mutual appreciation." Instead of "I always fail," say, "I can learn, adapt, and try again." These are not magic words that force reality to obey you. They are reminders that help you practice a healthier identity. Repeat them consistently, but more importantly, let your behavior support them. If you say you value yourself, make choices that reflect that value. If you say you believe in your future, take steps toward it. If you say you expect wonderful possibilities, remain open when something unfamiliar appears. Your self-concept becomes powerful when your thoughts, expectations, emotions, and actions begin moving in the same direction. Eventually, you no longer have to constantly convince yourself. The new identity becomes natural. You begin walking through life with the assumption that you belong in rooms you once feared entering, that you can recover from disappointment, that you can create new beginnings, and that your future is not limited by your past. Then something remarkable happens. You stop searching everywhere for proof that you matter. You become the proof. You become the person who trusts themselves, honors themselves, and expects their life to expand. That is the kind of inner transformation that makes you receptive to miracles. Because when your self-concept changes, you are no longer standing at the edge of possibility, asking whether you are worthy to enter. You step forward knowing that you are allowed to participate in your own becoming. Your life begins to feel different because you are no longer meeting the world as the old version of yourself. You are meeting it as someone who believes that beautiful things are possible, that unexpected doors can open, and that you are capable of walking through them. There is a powerful difference between desperately chasing something and becoming the person who is ready to receive it. When you constantly chase a miracle, your attention remains fixed on the absence of what you want. You keep asking, "When will it happen? Why has it not happened yet? What am I doing wrong? Why is everyone else moving forward while I am still waiting?" These questions keep you emotionally attached to the very condition you want to leave behind. Becoming the match for your desired experience begins when you stop making your peace dependent upon immediate evidence. You begin living from a deeper assumption that your life can move in a positive direction, even before you know exactly how. This does not mean sitting still and expecting the universe to do everything for you. It means changing the inner position from which you act. Instead of acting from desperation, you act from confidence. Instead of making decisions because you are afraid you will miss your only chance, you make decisions because you genuinely believe another opportunity can exist. Instead of chasing someone for validation, you remember that your value does not depend on their response. Instead of constantly checking whether something has manifested, you return your attention to the person you are becoming. This shift is incredibly powerful because your outer behavior often follows your dominant inner identity. When you feel that something is impossible, you hesitate. When you believe something is possible, you become willing to move. You make the call. You submit the application. You start the project. You have the difficult conversation. You leave what no longer serves you. You become available for experiences that the desperate version of you might have overlooked. Becoming a match is therefore not about controlling circumstances. It is about becoming internally prepared for the circumstances you desire. If you want love, become someone who can receive healthy love without constantly testing it or fearing abandonment. If you want abundance, Bilal are someone who notices possibilities, manages resources wisely, learns valuable skills, and expects growth. If you want peace, stop feeding every thought that demands your attention. If you want a new chapter, stop repeatedly identifying yourself with the old one. Your desired reality requires a version of you who is emotionally and mentally prepared to live it. Imagine receiving the opportunity you have been praying for tomorrow. Would you be ready? Would you recognize it? Would you have the confidence to say yes? Would you believe you deserve it? Would you know how to handle it responsibly? These questions reveal something important. Sometimes the preparation for the miracle is becoming the person who can hold the miracle. You may be asking for greater opportunities while still thinking like someone who must remain hidden. You may desire meaningful love while still believing you must chase people to keep them interested. You may desire success while repeatedly telling yourself that you are incapable. Your work is to close that gap. Start practicing the emotional state of the person you want to become, not pretending, not forcing, practicing. If you want to be confident, practice making confident choices. If you want to feel worthy, practice treating yourself with respect. If you want to feel abundant, practice noticing what is already working rather than allowing scarcity to dominate your attention. If you want to feel hopeful, practice leaving room for positive outcomes even when the path is uncertain. Gradually, your internal state becomes more familiar and your behavior begins to reflect it naturally. You stop chasing every sign because you become more interested in embodying the identity behind the desire. You stop demanding immediate proof because you understand that transformation happens through consistent choices. You stop asking, "Where is my miracle?" and begin asking, "How would the version of me who expects good things think, speak, and act today?" That question changes everything. It moves you from waiting into becoming. It moves you from desperation into preparation. It moves you from absence into possibility. And when you live from that place, you become far more receptive to opportunities, relationships, ideas, and unexpected turns that can genuinely improve your life. The miracle is not something you need to chase through fear. Become ready, become open, become courageous, become aligned with the person you know you are capable of becoming. Then let life reveal what becomes possible from there. Gratitude is one of the most powerful states you can cultivate when you want to become more receptive to unexpected blessings and meaningful opportunities. It is easy to feel grateful when everything is going exactly according to plan, but true gratitude becomes transformative when you learn to appreciate life even while you are still growing. Gratitude does not mean pretending that difficulties do not exist. It means refusing to allow difficulties to become the only thing you can see. When your attention becomes completely consumed by what is missing, you become blind to what is already present. You overlook the people who support you, the lessons you have learned, the opportunities available to you, the strength you have developed, and the countless possibilities that still remain ahead. Gratitude interrupts that pattern. It brings your attention back to the present moment and reminds you that your life contains more than the problem currently occupying your mind. Begin each day by intentionally noticing what is already working. Your breath, your ability to think, your ability to learn, the people who care about you, the skills you have developed, the experiences that shaped you, and even the challenges that taught you resilience can all become reasons to appreciate your journey. The purpose is not to force yourself into fake positivity. The purpose is to train your mind to become more balanced. You can acknowledge what you want while appreciating what you already have. You can desire growth without insulting your present life. You can dream of a better future without declaring that today has no value. This creates an entirely different emotional foundation. When you practice gratitude consistently, your attention begins changing. You start noticing small moments that previously passed unnoticed. A helpful conversation can feel meaningful. An unexpected opportunity can stand out. A simple idea can suddenly appear valuable. A person's kindness can remind you that you are not alone. The world has not necessarily changed overnight. Your awareness has changed. You are now looking for evidence of possibility, rather than constantly collecting evidence of lack. This is where gratitude becomes magnetic in a practical sense. A grateful person often behaves differently from someone who believes nothing is ever enough. Gratitude can make you more generous, more present, more patient, and more willing to participate in life. You become less obsessed with controlling every outcome because you are no longer treating the present moment as worthless. You can move toward your goals without becoming consumed by them. You can desire more while still appreciating what is here, and that balance creates freedom. Instead of saying, I will be happy when I finally get what I want, you begin saying, I can appreciate today while allowing tomorrow to become even better. This mindset protects you from constantly postponing your happiness. It also helps you recognize that miracles are not always dramatic events. Sometimes the miracle is a door opening after months of uncertainty. Sometimes it is meeting someone at exactly the right moment. Sometimes it is discovering an ability within yourself that you did not know existed. Sometimes it is simply realizing that you survived something you once believed would destroy you. When gratitude becomes natural, you become more sensitive to these moments. You begin seeing the extraordinary within the ordinary. Practice gratitude not only when you receive what you wanted, but also when life redirects you. Say, there may be something here I cannot see yet. When something ends, appreciate what it taught you. When something is delayed, use the time to prepare. When something does not work, remain open to another possibility. You do not need to call every disappointment a blessing immediately. Simply refuse to close the door on the possibility that something valuable can emerge from it. Let gratitude become an inner habit rather than an occasional performance. Before sleeping, name 3 things that brought value to your day. During difficult moments, pause and identify one thing that remains within your control. When something good happens, allow yourself to fully receive it instead of immediately worrying about losing it. The more naturally you practice appreciation, the more your attention learns to recognize abundance in many forms. And when your attention is no longer imprisoned by what is missing, you become available for what is arriving. You begin walking through life with open eyes, an open mind, and a receptive heart. You are not demanding that miracles appear on command. You are becoming someone capable of recognizing them when they do. Gratitude teaches you that life does not have to be perfect for it to be meaningful. It teaches you that you can be thankful for today while still believing in a greater tomorrow. And from that peaceful, receptive state, you may discover that the life you once considered ordinary contains far more possibilities, connections, lessons, and unexpected blessings than you ever realized. There comes a point when you must stop preparing to become the person you want to be and start walking as that person now. If you want to become so magnetic that miracles find you, you cannot spend your entire life waiting for external evidence before allowing yourself to feel confident, hopeful, worthy, and ready. You must begin carrying yourself as though your life is already opening to new possibilities. This does not mean pretending that you have everything figured out. It does not mean ignoring challenges or acting as if every desire has already appeared physically. It means developing an inner certainty that your current circumstances are not the final definition of your life. When you walk with that certainty, you begin making decisions differently. You stop asking for permission to believe in yourself. You stop shrinking because of old disappointments. You stop allowing one rejection to become a prophecy about your future. Instead, you begin thinking, this is one moment, not my entire story. That mindset gives you room to move forward. Imagine the version of yourself who genuinely believes life is capable of opening in unexpected ways. How would that person enter a room? How would they respond to an unanswered message? How would they handle a setback? How would they approach an opportunity? They would not necessarily be fearless, but they would refuse to let fear make every decision. They would understand that uncertainty is not automatically danger. They would remain open to possibilities that cannot yet be proven. They would know that one closed door does not mean every door is closed. This is the attitude you are being invited to embody. Walk with quiet expectation. Speak with confidence. Make choices that honor the person you are becoming. Protect your peace. Take care of your mind. Follow opportunities that genuinely align with your values. Let your actions communicate that you believe your future deserves your participation. When you start moving this way, something changes inside you. You become less obsessed with forcing outcomes and more focused on responding wisely to what appears. You notice people, ideas, conversations, and opportunities that can move your life forward. You become more courageous about taking the next step because you are no longer demanding certainty before action. Sometimes the miracle is hidden inside the step you were afraid to take. You might meet the right person because you finally attended an event. You might discover an opportunity because you finally submitted the application. You might find a solution because you finally asked the question. You might experience an entirely new chapter because you finally stopped repeating the habits of the old one. This is why becoming magnetic is not about sitting around waiting for something magical to happen. It is about becoming available. You become available to new experiences by releasing rigid expectations about exactly how your life must unfold. You become available to connection by allowing yourself to be seen. You become available to opportunity by being willing to try. You become available to growth by accepting that you will sometimes feel uncomfortable. Most importantly, you become available to your own potential. Let your inner declaration be simple. My life is opening in ways I cannot yet see. Carry that thought without forcing it. When something unexpected happens, instead of immediately assuming it is a problem, pause and ask whether it could contain an opportunity. When plans change, remain flexible enough to consider a different route. When something ends, allow yourself to grieve while remembering that endings can create space for beginnings. When something beautiful appears, do not immediately question whether you deserve it. Receive it with gratitude. You are training yourself to become comfortable with receiving good things. And that matters because some people spend so much time expecting disappointment that when blessings arrive, they sabotage them through doubt, fear, or unworthiness. You are choosing a different pattern. You are learning to let good experiences feel normal. You are learning to accept encouragement without suspicion. You are learning to celebrate progress without minimizing it. You are learning to believe that your future can contain experiences you have never imagined. This is the final movement from waiting to embodiment. You no longer stand outside your desired life asking when you will be invited inside. You begin living today with the qualities you want your future to contain: confidence, gratitude, openness, courage, peace, self-respect, and expectation. Then you allow circumstances to unfold without trying to control every detail. Perhaps your miracle will arrive through a person, perhaps through an opportunity, perhaps through an unexpected change that redirects your entire path, perhaps through a realization that transforms the way you see yourself. You do not need to predict it. You only need to be ready. Walk forward as someone whose story is still expanding. Walk as someone who expects possibility. Walk as someone who knows that the next chapter can contain something beautiful. And when life presents an unexpected opening, do not stand there asking whether you are worthy. Step forward. The person you have become is ready to receive what the old version of you could not even imagine.